Hello, Professor. This is my video tutorial number 4 about skimming. These are the main points of my presentation.
There are many strategies and activities that teachers can use to make reading in a second language more motivating, and one of those is called skimming. Skimming is a strategic selective reading method in which students focus on the main idea of a text. Instead of closely reading every word, focusing on the introduction, chapter summaries, first and last sentences of paragraphs, bold words, and text features is the key. There are some benefits when using skimming in EFL classrooms. First, it helps students to understand how a text is organized and know the intention of the author. It also helps students to make the reading process easier. Skimming promotes cognitive processing and literacy skills, such as awareness of the sound of language, the relationship between letters and sounds, vocabulary, spelling, and comprehension. And finally, skimming evokes interest on reading. In this activity based on reading, I selected a story named The Very Hungry Caterpillar as an example to explain this activity. So first, students will carry out a pre-reading activity based on guessing from some objects which are part of this story. In this story, there are some objects such as a butterfly, a leaf, a caterpillar, ice cream, and watermelon. So through this, they will start getting into the story. Then students will put into practice skimming. In groups, they will receive a handout which contains this story, the story of this caterpillar. They will have to obtain the main ideas and words vocabulary through skimming it. After they do this, they will have to share their findings with the rest of the group. Next, groups will be given the objects used in the pre-reading activity, plus a set of flashcards with the rest of the objects, in order that all the groups have all the items described in the story. In total, there are 28 objects. One member of each group will have to read this story aloud. That students will have to do that through the use of gestures and body language as much as possible. As the story is being narrated, the rest of the members of the group will have to select the correct object or flashcard and put it over the table according to the sequence of the events of the story. For instance, if the narrator says, "One Sunday morning, the warm sun," so they take the object or flashcard that represents the sun, "comes up and poop, out of the egg comes a teeny and very hungry caterpillar." So they take the flashcard or object that represents the caterpillar and put it in a correct order over the table. They will do this procedure with the rest of the story. Then students will have to design a poster that advertises the story. The groups will have to try to convince the rest of the classmates that they should have to read this story. They can mention ideas of the story, the quality of the pictures, the use of vocabulary, and even they can say how this story made them feel. Then students will present their posters, their works in front of the class, and their classmates will have to decide if they effectively read the story, or if they won't read the story and why, according to the reasons and the presentation that the group gave before. And as a final post-reading activity, students will answer a closure questions related to this story. And that question is, what do you learn about the content of this story?
Here I am presenting the main steps to apply skimming in EFL classrooms. First, it is important to focus on the interest of the students in order to make the reading process more engaging and motivating. Once students receive the piece of reading, ask students to look at the title and the pictures of the piece of reading. Now, students can start skimming. They can do this through a vertical and horizontal way of searching. Both are effective. Number four, detect main ideas of the text in the introductory paragraphs. This part usually expresses the main idea, argument, or goal of the reading. Number five, read the first and last sentence of each paragraph. This usually helps the reader to discover what follows in the paragraphs. 6. Skip proof or examples, but only if students think or consider the point doesn't need proving. And finally, number 7, it's important to share ideas and findings about the piece of reading. Due to student A, for example, could have discovered something that student B couldn't.
Here I wanted to write a sentence that covers a main point about reading, and that is that reading is a unique experience for each reader.
These are the academic papers I used to support my presentation.